How you been, dude?
Welcome to the Digital Dreaming Off the Gridiron podcast. Your host, Oscar Ali. I'm joined today by my co-host and fellow 49ers faithful, Sulman Haque. Sulman, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Doing good, man. It's been a minute, yeah. And first of all, congrats on the new job. We're not here to talk about work, but just congrats once again. And, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
100%. Yeah. So obviously, I've just been, you asked me before we started recording, kind of what I've been up to. So I actually moved out here to SAC and pretty much got situated out here. And so you see the result of that.
Nice.
So, yeah. And,
nice, man.
Yeah, no, obviously
like
they appreciate it. Yeah, no, just been doing virtual summits, in addition to work and obviously the podcast. So,
cool, man. Cool.
Yeah, let's start off. You good?
Yeah, I said good stuff. Good stuff.
Good stuff. All right, cool. So let's start off with let me start with some storylines that I picked up over the week. So the 49ers. So obviously, Shanahan and John Lynch made the announcement earlier in the week that they're going with Trey. It's Trey's team now. So kind of first, let me get your initial reaction on that. What do you think about that?
I like it, man. I like it. I think that was the right call. They had to move on from Jimmy. They were just beating around the bush too much around that. They're like, oh, maybe Jimmy's gonna stay, maybe he's not. We'll see. And then I think it was the right call. Open up training camp, be like, Trey's our guy, give him that confidence. He hasn't looked great so far in training camp, but at least he's got the confidence that he's the guy still, and Jimmy's not lurking somewhere behind him to creep up and take his job. So I think it's a good move. I think that was the right call by Shanahan and Lynch.
And it's funny you mentioned that. That was something I was reading the other day, like obviously on Twitter and obviously on Niners Noise, right? So I think obviously Trey he's 3 of 10 yesterday, 3 of 10, and the only pass he was able, his best pass of the day, according to Grant Cohn, was a deep ball that hit Ray McLeod in the face mask and bounced off his face mask. And so know what? At this time in training camp, defenses are usually faster than the offense, right? So you
exactly.
Right? Yeah. So
that's what I was gonna say. It's probably our defense is just that good, and it's making Trey look bad.
Right.
So just take training camp with a grain of salt. It's not. So I wouldn't put too much stock into. He's looking bad. He's not looking good. He's gonna light it up this year.
I mean, and I absolutely have faith in Shanahan and Lynch. Obviously, you've seen what he's done with the full season with a healthy quarterback, right? With Jamie, obviously. 16-game season, NFC champion. That's I had up there when I went to the game out in Levi's, right? Brady Mostert and everyone. That was a great year, right? Until the Super Bowl, but and obviously then the NFC championship last year, right? And Jimmy wasn't healthy the full year, right? And so, I mean, Trey in his 2 starts, 2 games he played, he showed flashes of brilliance. So obviously Shannon showed up and Skip Bayless on first undisputed the other day, and they're saying, Shannon's like, when Mahomes had the opportunity. And it's funny, I actually got to see Mahomes his rookie year, like his after year, before he actually played, and he barely got any. And the garbage time minutes he got, I mean, it wasn't even anything. There was nothing that shows you, oh yeah, this is the next coming of Joe Montana. No, it's like
exactly. Like Mahomes' rookie year, people are like, oh, maybe Casey reached a little too much on this guy, right? Everyone, that was the talk. Right. And same talk with Trey. So we'll see.
We'll see. Obviously, hopefully Trey can develop that pocket presence. So obviously, let's talk about some others. So DK Metcalf signed a 3-year, $72 million extension. So I mean, now obviously with Jimmy now, being now on the back burner, on the trade on the chopping block, the question then comes, with a $27 million dead cap from Jimmy, what's that mean for Debo? Obviously, I think Debo they're gonna have to show a commitment to Debo, because now with DK being locked up, Debo is just as valuable, if not more valuable, to the offense.
I think you're gonna see a Debo extension in the next 2 weeks easily. And the man's gonna get paid. He's gonna get paid. I think Debo's looking for a 5-year, $100 million. I think that's what he's looking for. I think they can make that work. It just, they won't give him they may have to give him less guarantees and stuff like that. Like, you can give a guy a 5-year, $100 million, just make it incentivized, right? You'd be like, okay, if you hit these milestones, we get to the Super Bowl, we win Super Bowls, you get your 100. Like, I think a lot of these receivers, they get caught up in that overall number, but it's really about the guarantees. I'm like, why are you worrying about 5 years, 100 million? Worry about, hey, if I get 100 million, give me half guaranteed, right? Like, I want more guaranteed. That's what you should be worried about.
100%. No, and I think, kind of we saw it with Kyler Murray's contract, and obviously in comparing, contrast that to Deshaun Watson's contract, the same amount, of total dollars, but the guarantee up front is obviously much less for Kyler than is for Deshaun.
Exactly.
Right. And I mean, but it works in both kind of, in both the player and the organization's favor, so.
Yeah.
I hope that if Debo gets locked up next 2 weeks, then I hope that Jimmy, because I mean, I did an episode in the preseason a few weeks ago, or last week, and I thought that Jimmy wasn't going to go anywhere, because obviously, with where we are now, with the season kind of approaching so near, and obviously with training camp just starting, and the fact that they weren't able to find a true suitable trade partner for Jimmy, in the offseason, it's kind of like, I mean, where is he going to go now? And I mean, yeah.
No, I was going to say, I think they're holding on to him. Like, I was reading something, they're holding on to him because they're worried Seattle might come in and sign him, and he's going to be like ready to go with Seattle, and he's going to come burn him like week 2. I'm like, are you guys really worried about Jimmy burning you? Like, let the guy go to Seattle if he needs to. He's not going to come and burn you. You know his tendencies. You know everything about him. Like, you don't have to worry about that. So I don't know. I think they're just kind of slow playing it to see if someone gets hurt. Then there's an opportunity to kind of get a pick out of it. Otherwise, I think he's, if we're end of August and Jimmy's still on the roster, I'll be shocked. But I think they'll either cut him by then or he's traded by then. But I think that's what they're waiting for. They're waiting to go like 2 weeks into camp, see if someone gets hurt. Already injuries have started up. So, if it just takes one guy getting hurt and Jimmy's on his way to somewhere else for a 3rd round pick. I think that's what they're looking for.
Absolutely. And I think to that point, and actually what you mentioned about injuries, right? Obviously, I forgot to mention this when we talk about Trey. What's his name? God. Trent and Mike McGlinchey. Trent Williams, Mike McGlinchey were both not practicing this whole week. So,
yep.
I mean,
but I think Trent Williams had a baby, so he was not practicing because he had a baby.
He had a baby, right? Yeah. And so, I mean, again, so, I mean, you got to take it with a grain of salt, right? I mean, if you don't have the right offensive line, you don't have, the right, I mean, you can't really, it's a really small sample size. And obviously with Jimmy was a benefit of, he was a direct benefactor of the offensive line, of the run game, and, of the playmakers he had. I mean, no disrespect to Jimmy. I mean, I saw his first start in Soldier Field, when he came there, and it was 5 years ago, right? I mean, it was great.
Yeah, 5 years ago.
Yeah, right. And so ultimately now, I mean, when you look at where Jimmy's headed, I mean, Seattle would be great because Seattle's in a complete rebuild mode, right? I mean, they did lock up DK and they do have a Lockett, but I mean, maybe he makes them competitive, but I mean, they're not going to be the same Seattle of yesteryear. They're not going to be the Legion of Boom, running rush hour of the league, right? That's not happening, right? So
no, it's definitely not happening. That's a good point about the line. I think that's what worries me the most when it comes to Trey. It's like, he's a young guy. And if the line, they lost Tomlinson and, a lot of changes in the line, and you're like, oh, I don't know, right? But by all reports, Aaron Banks has looked amazing. So we'll see if this line that they've envisioned holds up, and Trey develops the way he develops, you could see a pretty crazy year for Trey.
Absolutely. No, I think the line is going to really set the tone, right? Not just for Trey, but also the run game, right? Obviously, Mitchell and, obviously Trey Sermon, this training camp is an opportunity. The preseason, which is coming up this week, is an opportunity for all these guys who are in the Shanahan doghouse to kind of prove themselves and get out of the doghouse, like such as Trey Sermon, such as, Hasty, such as other guys, who are young rookies trying to, make a name for themselves, who didn't really produce in their rookie year. So I think having a great offensive line is going to open up the RPO, and obviously it's going to open the play action. So, I mean, obviously, 100%. Guys, like such as a Ayuk and Debo and Kittle, they thrive, the Yak boys, right? Obviously, Jimmy didn't have to do too much, just, dink and dunk, little hitch routes, 5 yards. So, but he still needs the time for the play to develop. So if you have the pass protection, the play will develop, right? So I mean, essentially that's what it comes down to, right? So we'll see.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, Trey can buy you time, but I think the most concerning was losing Tomlinson. But if Aaron Banks can just plug in there and he's gonna kill it, that's great, and then we'll be good. If he just gives us everything Tomlinson gave us on the left side, I think Trey will be fine.
I agree. And I think also, another thing to consider is that, Trey is just, his athleticism, right? The games we saw him play last year, he can definitely, like I said, he can extend plays and, but yeah, you need to have an anchor on that line. We did lose Tomlinson, Garland, right? There's a lot of players and key pieces that we lost, this offseason. But I'm hoping that, these new guys, new additions can, kind of cover up for that. So.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see who comes out of the camp battle and starts at center. That's the position that scares me the most, right?
Right,
You're not
right.
retiring. You're like, what's the plan here at center? Like, is it gonna be Brunskill? Who's gonna be the center? I think Brunskill's right guard, so I don't know. We'll see who wins that center job and who takes it over.
Yeah, maybe Jake. I don't know. I mean, it could be Brunskill. We'll see.
We'll see. It could be Donovan West, undrafted rookie. Like, we don't know what's going to happen there. That's the part that scares me the most, because the center is really important in Shanahan's offense.
Yeah,
and so not having like a established center who's going to be there, who's been in the Kyle Shanahan system, and now you're plugging in Trey, who's a young rookie, or not rookie but second year guy, hasn't really played much his rookie season. That's kind of scary, right? It's like, if Mac was coming back, you wouldn't be as concerned, but now it's like, ooh, should we be concerned?
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? And I think with Shanahan's kind of his system. So I mean, and that's another reason why Debo needs to get locked up, because certain schemes and certain players fit certain schemes, right? So obviously, a DK Metcalf, would be a great fit for any other offense in the NFL, right? But for a Shanahan offense, a Debo Samuel is much more valuable, because the wide back position, which was basically innovated this past year, thanks to Debo and his amazing athleticism, is just one of those things where you need to, again, back to the line, back to the center, and also the timing, right, between the center and kind of being the captain of the anchor of the offensive line. And also, I mean, like, and I have a guys on the show, like, such as Lincoln Kennedy, right, 3-time All-Pro, right? I mean, you need to have the great teams come from great lines. I mean, it can't be stated enough, right? So hopefully, like you said, hopefully the center position, they figure it out. Hopefully, obviously Banks is looking good, right? When Trent comes back to practice, when Mike comes back to practice, we'll really get to see kind of how they gel together. And I think hopefully this preseason can show us a little bit more. That's why I really want to see how Trey does in the preseason, because that to me is going to be a good litmus test for obviously one
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, he should, as long as he shows some flashes, we should be good.
We should be good for sure. Now, you mentioned Seattle. Let's actually talk about Seattle. Denver, obviously, the guy behind me, and obviously, shout out to Ryan Harris if you're watching this, guest of the show. Russell Wilson is starting, obviously, his first season, right? His first preseason camp in Denver. I don't know what to make of it, but that Denver team, they do have some promise, so
yeah, I'm with you. They could be a scary team. If you're looking at Denver, they might be a Super Bowl favorite coming out of the AFC West, and which is crazy because the AFC West is stacked, and Denver has the defense. I mean, you'll see guys like Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. They're gonna put up numbers this year. Now that they have Russ, they got a nice run game with Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams. So, and they got a nice line. So Denver is a solid team. I mean, I think that was what was missing for them, a quarterback. And they went out and got Russ. And if Russ can do even 75% of the things he did in Seattle, I think Denver has a pretty good shot at the Super Bowl.
I agree, because if you look at the numbers, Russ in the last 5 years has averaged 25 or more touchdowns passing per year, right?
Yeah.
He obviously was an All-Pro selection a few years ago, obviously Denver's kind of biggest crux is Kansas City in that division. Yep. Obviously now you have Justin Herbert to worry about. Now you have obviously Derek Carr and the surging Raiders, right? But ultimately, it's
nobody's worrying about Derek Carr though.
Ain't no one worried about Derek, right? So obviously, kind of with that, to your point, right? Kansas City has been kind of like they've clamped down the division for the past how many years, and no one has ever really been able to kind of go toe to toe. Now with Russell Wilson, Denver does look like a team that really can go toe to toe, right? For the reasons you mentioned.
Absolutely.
Not to mention the defense side of the ball. If we talk about Patrick Surtain and some of the secondary, some of the pass rush, there's a lot of key players on Denver. So.
Yeah, I mean, Bradley Chubb coming off the edge. Surtain looks like a great corner. They got great safeties. So Denver is a scary team. They look like a complete team now with Wilson. So
they look, I know. So, but definitely watch out for Denver. Now let's also talk about. Let me see. So Tampa Bay just So Tampa Bay just signed. Julio Jones. Oh my God. So yeah, what do you expect of Tampa Bay like this year? I mean, oh my God.
I never know what to make of Tampa Bay every year.
Yeah.
It's like, what kind of Tom Brady will we get? And then it's like every year, Tom Brady's going to decline. He's going to decline. And then it's like, he puts up great numbers. You're like, damn, how did he do that? He's like 45. He's like, it's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Julio is a good signing. He's basically their Gronk replacement. You know, big guy, big body in the end zone. It's what he's going to do. Opposite, like give Mike Evans room to do his thing. To me, Julio is just an older Mike Evans. That's essentially what they did. They just got an older Mike Evans who has some of that red zone skill, right? So I mean, Tampa's a scary team too, right? Because every year you see they play well regular season, but I don't know, something about Bruce Arians, something happens in the playoffs with his teams. But you know, but Bruce Arians is he still there? Or he left? I forget.
No, he left.
Retired,
Yeah,
right? He retired, right? Tom Brady came back after Bruce Arians left. He's like, oh, Bruce is gone. I'm in. I'm back.
Yeah.
So Tampa Bay is a hard one. I think obviously they're a playoff team, they're a playoff contender, but as you've seen in the NFC, like anything can happen in the playoffs. And in Tampa Bay, you know, they have a legit shot at the Super Bowl, or they could be out first round of the playoffs. It's hard to say. It's just they've been inconsistent.
Yeah, and to that point, you know, obviously the inconsistency is kind of like one of those things. To my point, to what I've observed too, they've also been. Is for me, I look at it and I'm like, okay, like so Ali Marpet, you know, retiring, and they also have the same issues we have in terms of kind of the offensive line because they haven't found a center. I think JC Terrier, is that his name, from the Cleveland Browns, is available in the market right now, and so they're looking at him for a possible option, but they're going to have to literally patchwork that offensive line like we're going to have to before the season starts in 4 weeks, right? So
and they've already had like 2 injuries on their line, like Ryan Jensen they think is done for the season, stuff like that. So it's like, yikes! That like if Brady's taking hits, he's like, I'm done this season. Like he's gonna be like, I'm done, no more. I can't do this. I'm like, how old is Brady now? 46? Is he turning 46 soon?
He's 45.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's gonna be like, man, if I'm taking hits with this garbage offensive line, he might retire mid-season. He's like, I'm done. I'm walking away.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's crazy that he even came back. I mean, I thought when he retired the first time, I thought it was good. I mean, we talked about on this platform, you know, and obviously anyone listening, you guys can tune into the episode if you go back to, you know, February, right? But I mean, I was like, and then he came out of retirement like 2 months later, or like 1 month later, like, okay, I'm coming back. And then Gronk didn't return. Obviously, AB's gone. Like, you know, like you said, it's a tricky one. They basically get Julio, who's just scooped up Mike Evans, but then obviously Alan Marpet's still retired. Ryan Jensen's now out for the year. So I mean, I really think that this may be Brady's last year. I mean, depending on how. Yeah.
I agree with you. I think so. I think he's gonna take a lot of hits, and he's gonna be like, you know what, I'm done. But I think the reason why he came back, I think he just didn't get along with Bruce Arians. He's like, if Bruce Arians still coaching, I'm out. And you know, Brady's like that. Brady's like doesn't like a coach. He's like, I'm out. Like he liked Bill for a while, and then he's like, you know what? I'm kind of over Bill. I'm gonna do my thing now. So
yes, it's funny you mentioned that because obviously I got to see Brady's last Super Bowl run in 2018 when the Patriots came to play the Bears at Soldier Field in 2018 with Bill Belichick, and you could just. I mean, you can't really tell from the sidelines watching the game, right? But I mean, you could just see from his body language, like something was off. You know what I mean?
Something was off. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of to your point. Like Brady is one of the most kind of visual players. Like you can tell when something's wrong because either he's going to go on the sidelines like, "What the fuck are we doing?" Like, do you want to sit? You want to lie down? Or he's like, you know, his body language. Like he throws something, he breaks a tablet, right? And I think ultimately now with what you just called out, right? Obviously the fact that, you know, he's had issues with that coaching staff. There is some tension because obviously AB walking out the field. You know, Brady personally vouched for AB, but then when AB basically left and it was because of Arians, right? I mean, that was probably maybe the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of kind of why he wanted Arians gone. You know, and obviously Tampa Bay, I mean, no one from either Brady or Tampa Bay is going to admit it, right? But ultimately, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, they play the politics, they toe the line, but, you know, it's just there was something off there. I mean, it's just the connection was gone, the magic was gone, and ultimately, I think Brady now, I mean, in his 23rd season, this is literally his 23rd season. Like, you know, he's going to have to work with a new coach, basically somewhat a new offensive line, right? A new center, which is what we just talked about, which is so key, right? A new center and almost a brand new receiving core. I mean, you know, they still have Mike and Chris Godwin. Chris was out for a lot of the year, I think was last year, right? And and now Gronk is gone, AB is gone, so there's not going to. It's. I mean, Brady has shown that he can develop and mold players, right? But I mean, I think there's something to be said of, you know, of the losses and kind of the new coaching staff. I mean, Tampa Bay everyone's predicting, like, I think Adam Rank on NFL Network said he predicts Tampa Bay go 13-4 and come to San Francisco and beat us at Levi's, which is not happening.
Oh.
No. Okay.
Nope.
And so,
I mean, Bosa is just gonna eat Brady alive.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's talking about. Like that offensive line, Bosa's gonna have like 6 sacks.
Yeah. And I mean, like, obviously, he said, oh, Trey Lance at home. I mean, well, I think ultimately Kyle Shanahan's offense, what people are missing is that a Shanahan offense doesn't need a Pro Bowl quarterback. It's a run.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyone can be quarterbacking that offense. If you have 2 seconds or less, you can just basically let the ball go, right? And I mean,
right.
Brady obviously had the actually, yeah, to the point. Brady's release was the fastest of all quarterbacks last year, 2.3 seconds of all quarterbacks in both the NFC and the AFC, right? So ultimately, I think Trey has a very quick release. Yeah, I mean, that's what people are not talking about. Trey's release, which I've seen, is so fast. And I think if he's able to just get the timing down with whoever is there at center and whoever is their kind of their replacements for Thompson, and obviously with the whole offensive line, he's gonna have to develop that chemistry, right? I mean, when he figures that out, I think we're gonna be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's something they fixed with Trey, because if you even look at Trey last season, his release, he was just like, he was kind of keeping it up, and then he was letting go like kind of late. You're like, what are you doing? Like, this is like, I've never seen an NFL quarterback kind of like this and then this, right? It's the weirdest thing. And I think they fixed that over the offseason, because like now you see him and he's just like darting them. So he's just darting them. I think he's always had it. I think in game, for whatever reason, when you were watching him, he was just like hesitating a little on those throws. So I think he's fixed that a little bit. So I agree with you. If he gets those quick releases, I mean, our defense is nasty, man. It's going to be a nasty defense. Like if we're in like a low scoring game, like a 17-7 game, we're winning those type of games with this defense.
Right. And I think ultimately I forgot to mention this, the defense, kind of the secondary battle, Denard, Johnson, right? I mean, there's a lot of guys coming back. Some improved Mosley, obviously, right? I mean, there's a lot of guys coming back who are good, who are playmakers. I mean, on the secondary.
Yeah. Oh man, we got tons now. Like, I mean, you might get back like a somewhat healthy Verrett. You already have Mosley. We got our boy Ward over there, man, in the other side. Ambry Thomas, like he came on at the end of last year. He looks like he'll be a solid player for that team. And so like they're stacked now in the secondary. They got Jimmy Ward in the back, and then they got Hufanga. Like by all accounts, Hufanga has looked great so far, and that's why they let like Ward Tart walk away. And they're like, oh, okay, we'll go Hufanga and Ward, right? So I think Hufanga is going to surprise people about how good he is. And you could have seen this potential last year. Like if you watch him play, you're like, oh man, this guy's a ball hawk. He knows how to get to the ball. And so I think that's what they saw, and they're like, you know what? Why do we need Tari when Hufanga can do the job and he's cheaper? Not that much cheaper, I guess, because Tari didn't really get paid. But yeah, I think he's a younger guy. He's quicker to the ball. Like he has some ball hawking skills. We'll see that this year.
100%. I think Talanoa Hufanga, right? Obviously, like we saw what he could do. Obviously, on special teams, right? You gotta love it. Playoffs against Green Bay, right? On the block punt and the touchdown return. I mean, obviously, like now he's gonna really get an opportunity, like you said. He did get some opportunities, but now he's going to get like a full-time starting opportunity in the secondary. And I think I read some reports on camp that there was a Trey Lance pick that Hufanga returned for almost that he almost took back to the house.
The pick six, basically they said it was a pick six. It would have been a pick six they gave him.
Pick six, yeah. I mean that's and that to me kind of tells you, right? But I think also with the one thing to know about Ambry Thomas, kind of on the average side of that, I think 2 touchdowns were scored on Ambry Thomas with Kittle and Ayuk. So
he'll be fine. He'll be fine. He was a late bloomer. I think. I mean, it's hard to stop guys like Kittle and Ayuk with his freaking long ass arms. But I think Ambry Thomas is not a guy you need starting. You just need him to come in some nickel packages, dime packages, and kind of hold down the third or fourth receivers, and he can do that. So we'll see. I think we'll see what happens, but I think it's going to be, we have Mosley and Chardavius Ward on the outside, and then I mean they like that other guy a lot. Oh man, the rookie we just drafted, forgetting his name, but they like him. They like him also to be maybe coming on the slot, and then they have the guy last year, Lenore, also. Like so, there's going to be some guys trying to get into that slot. and play the slot in the nickel. And a lot of times they're in nickel package anyway. So you'll see what they end up doing. But I'm totally blanking on the guy we drafted just this year. Let me see what his name is.
Samuel Womack?
Yes, Samuel Womack. They like him a lot. And he can be good. He could be a good slot guy. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely could be a gem. Like he has all the intangibles. But also kind of to your point about why they like him. I trust Shanahan. Obviously unconditionally. I mean, he's obviously known for his offense, but the defense side of the ball, D'Amico Ryans. I mean, I trust Ryans to basically just make whatever calls. I mean, he proved it last season, right? Our first year without Robert Saleh, I mean, he was able to kind of really just anchor that defense and make some really good plays, call some really good plays. So creative plays, get up the quarterback and not to mention, I forgot to mention, obviously, our linebacking core. So Thomas Davis on NFL Network, he ranked Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner the #1 linebacking duo in the NFL.
Wow. Yeah. And he left out Azeez Al-Shahir. I mean, that dude's a beast on his own right. Yeah.
Muslim brother, man. You gotta love it.
Yeah, exactly. So is Ambry Thomas, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, is he really?
Yeah. Ambry Thomas is as well. Yeah.
I did not know that. Wow. I knew. I mean, I've had Ryan Harris on the show, Super Bowl champion, but I didn't know Ambry, and I obviously knew about Azeez. Obviously the Bay Area and the MCA, but that's awesome.
Yeah. Ambry too. If you follow him on Twitter, you'll see him post some things.
Oh yeah, I definitely will. So yeah, obviously, let's talk about fantasy. Okay, so now there's a lot of movement right in the offseason, right? So let's talk about it. Right? So quarterback. So what are you projecting? Obviously, I mean, you can start off with who are you looking out for? Who are your sleeper picks coming off? By position or by team?
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, at quarterback, I think Tua's man. I think Tua's gonna have a good year, and I'll go with Trey. I'll go with Tua and Trey. I think those two guys, they're not in anyone's top 10, maybe not, just barely in the top 15. So I think those two guys, I think they're gonna have like top 10 years. Tua, he's got the weapons now. He's got the run game. He's got Mike McDaniel scheming him up. So I'd be shocked if you don't see Tua finish as a top 10 fantasy quarterback. And the same with Trey. I think Trey is going to put up some monster numbers. I think Trey might even finish top 5. Maybe a little bit of homerism on my part there, but but I do see it. I do see like the year Lamar Jackson broke out. I think that's the kind of year you're going to see from Trey. Like a Lamar Jackson breakout type where he's got a lot of rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, so long to know with some passing yards and passing touchdowns. I mean, I think those two guys, if they're pretty flying under the radar, they're not going until pretty late, and people are like, oh yeah, maybe these guys are in the second tier, third tier, fourth tiers. Those are the guys. I like those two guys a lot. Obviously, you have your top guys, Mahomes, Herbert. Those two guys are probably the 1 and 2, Allen 3, right? I probably actually Allen over Herbert, but those are kind of the top 3-4 guys that everyone's drafting. But if you're looking for guys that are going later and you want some value, I would go with Tua and Trey.
Yeah, Tua and Trey for definitely sleeper picks. I'm actually gonna go Baker Mayfield. I'm gonna go Baker.
Really?
I mean, you look at who Carolina has, on the offensive line and some of the receivers. I mean, I think Baker is going to come out and not necessarily finish top 5, but I think he'll add some value, as a late round pick, because
I can see that.
Sorry, good.
No, I said I can see that. With Baker. He could.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
if you're one of those guys that's I'm going to wait till the very end to get a quarterback, you could get something out of Baker. I could see it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's one of those things. It depends on how you're drafting, right? If you're drafting a quarterback early, you're drafting a quarterback late. Obviously, the dual threat QBs. I think Lamar Jackson's going to have a bounce back year, being injured last year. I think Kyler Murray's obviously, he got paid the big money. He has to have a big year, right? And obviously, we said about Trey, Trey has something to prove, being his first starting year, as a full-time starter. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I will say, I think out of the kind of the top tier guys, I think Kyler Murray's gonna have a disappointing year.
You think so?
I think so. I don't know. There's just something weird about his whole situation in Arizona. I don't know. There's some weird stuff happening in Arizona that I just don't. It's we put in this homework clause and then independent study clause. What? Did these guys not watch film? You have to put that in there. I don't know. There's just something weird with Kyler Murray, and I don't know. I'm just getting and I think he also has a decently tough schedule too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Arizona. Yeah, keep that in mind.
Yeah, Arizona Cardinals. I think it's the 5th toughest in the league. Last I checked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's hard.
It's hard.
So I would say like Murray's probably one of the top guys I'm avoiding. I'm not drafting Kyler Murray, but to be fair, I was like that with Russell Wilson, but only because he was a Seahawk.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, you can't draft interdivisional opponents, right? So,
nope, can't do it.
Can't do it. And obviously, Christian Kirk leaving the Cardinals is going to hurt. I think losing Christian Kirk. I mean, there was a lot of production coming out, of Kirk as a receiver. So,
yeah,
I mean, actually, now that we're talking about QBs, I forgot to mention one QB who people may or may not be looking at. I mean, look at Jacksonville, look at Trevor Lawrence. I mean, now
exactly. That was another guy, Trevor Lawrence. I think he'll surprise some people, and he's got a pretty soft schedule. So let's see.
Very soft schedule. First year coach, Doug Pearson, but a lot of returning talent. And Christian Kirk is on that team. I mean, and Travis Etienne in the backfield.
Yeah. Yep.
It's going to open up our play.
He's electric.
It's I mean, I really feel like Jacksonville, like just because they had Urban Meyer one last year, like, and Trevor Lawrence was coming out as a rookie, he struggled, right? And I think now that you have a Super Bowl winning coach, not saying Doug Pearson is everything, he did rely heavily on Frank Reich, and you see how Indianapolis looks, and that's another team to look out for, obviously, right, with Matt Ryan at the helm, right? But I think with Trevor Lawrence now coming into a second year of full camp, full playbook, and obviously with Doug Pearson at the helm, and with some improvements on the line, Trevor Lawrence is going to have a big year.
Yeah, I agree, and he's got some solid tight ends. I think Evan Ingram went there, right? So,
yeah.
If he can stay healthy, Evan Ingram's a solid tight end. But
absolutely,
it's an issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You want to talk running backs?
Let's talk running backs. Let's go.
Let's do it. Here's what I'll do. I'll give you some sleeper guys.
Yep.
I really think I don't know why every year David Montgomery, he's like always like people don't draft him and people are like, oh, David Montgomery, whatever. But I think the Bears, like, they're gonna try to make Fields as comfortable as he can be, and they're gonna rely a lot on Montgomery to kind of do that. And they have a pretty soft schedule, so I could see Montgomery like being top 10 almost, right? Yeah. Like he'll be on that border of the top 10 running backs, and he's like being treated as like, top 20, top 30. Like, it's like, what? It's like, okay. I mean, I see that. And then the guy you just mentioned, Travis Etienne Jr.
Yeah,
I think he's electric, man. He's gonna do some stuff. So he's another guy to keep an eye on. And then the third guy I'll give you, it's a guy it's a rookie running back out of Atlanta. I think it's Tyson Algier. I think. Yeah. He, by all accounts, it sounds like Atlanta might lean on him pretty hard, and he might be starting running back there. So that's something to keep an eye on. He could be like a pretty late round steal that gives you a lot of good production. So those are kind of the three sleeper guys I'd be looking at for talking running backs. But there's tons, man. There's tons of sleeper running backs that you could kind of get in later rounds that people are, just written off like, oh, we don't know about these guys. What are they going to do? Who are they going to be? But there's tons. Like, there's other guys coming off injuries like J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, these guys that people are forgetting about. So I would say there's a lot of sleeper and middle tier running backs that could burst out. And that's always the case with running backs. And then it's like, did you have like the one or two top guys? Like, obviously Jonathan Taylor has to be the first back on anyone's board. Yeah. But I would say I'd be disappointed by Christian McCaffrey. Like, that's probably a guy I'm avoiding, is CMC, only because of the injury concerns. He's electric, he's explosive, but man, it's gotten burned by him like every single year for the last 3 years. It's like, when can this guy stay healthy for me? But it's part of the game, right? So you have to kind of factor that in and know that this is a guy that gets injured a lot, and I may not, take him. Like, even though he's probably one of the top 5 backs, I'm not going to take him.
Absolutely. No, I think I totally agree with you on that. I think C-Mac, just because of the injury concerns and lack of availability, it's a safe pick to not draft him high or draft him, put on a draft board. I think ultimately, to your point about the sleeper backs, I wanted to consider maybe James Conner, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. I think ultimately, him re-signing with the Cardinals, right, in the offseason. But then again, like you said, strength of schedule, right? And the Cardinals, but the offensive line, I'm not sure where the ranking is. I haven't checked or seen PFF's kind of ranking, but they did do pretty well last year, in pass protection and pass blocking and run blocking. So I think James Conner might be primed to have bounce back here. So maybe. So
Yeah. And definitely avoid Alvin Kamara. Who knows what's going on with that guy? I don't know what kind of stuff he's caught up into, but it sounds like he may get suspended for a while. He apparently he's like got some assault charge against him. So
does he really?
Yeah, he has some sort of assault thing going on. That I'm like, this is weird. I'm gonna avoid this guy. But I think just in general his production will be down. I don't think they're gonna use him like he's not gonna be Alvin Kamara fast.
Absolutely. Now let me talk about the 2019. We talk about the receivers, but let me kind of pull this up to the screen so everyone can see that. So DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, AJ Brown, Deontay Johnson, and our guy Deebo.
He's got to get paid, man.
He's got to get paid, right? So these are the top 5 receivers in the past, basically, the 2019 draft class, right? Obviously, T. Higgins, T. Higgins. I mean, not necessarily from the draft class, but T. Higgins, coming back from a breakout season. Jamar Chase, right, coming back from a breakout season, yeah. Right? Boy, listen, the Cincinnati Bengal receiving core is one of those where they're the only team last year to have 3 receivers over 800 yards. So, wow. I mean, that's something to look out for, I think. I don't know, but they may or may not be able to replicate the same production this year, right? I mean, it may just be a flash in the pan. But I do think these top 5 guys from the 2019 draft class, again, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, AJ Brown, Deontay Johnson, Deebo Samuel should be on everyone's draft board, just because
absolutely 100%.
So who you got?
No, 100%. Yeah, I mean, love those guys. I think they all have great years. It's all about like where you get them too, right?
Right.
It's also about like, for the value you get Deebo at. Like, are you gonna go spend a 2nd round pick on Deebo? Maybe, but only if he gets his contract extension done, right?
Right. Exactly.
If he doesn't get his contract extension done, I'm funding him later rounds. For people that are doing auction as well, like you got to think about values for these guys, right? So it's tough, and so there's just tons and tons of receivers. That's the thing. There's just tons of like great receivers that will give you value. Since it doesn't make sense like to spend too much on like a Cooper Kupp or Justin Jefferson, because you spend like a 1st or 2nd round pick on those guys and they get hurt, you're like, oh shit. Like I just wasted my first, like, right,
Yeah.
And I also know I see Justin Jefferson ranked as like one of the top 3 fantasy receivers this year. I like him, but I don't know, with Kirk Cousins, I just can't see myself spending like my 1st rounder or 2nd rounder or paying like $45 plus in an auction draft for him. If we're talking about a $200 budget, like I just don't see it. Like I like Justin Jefferson, but I like him more in the 3rd round. Like, but he's not going to go there. People are going to take him, right? Because Yahoo and ESPN are going to default him to like one of the top 2 guys in the receiving core. So, but I'm staying away from Justin Jefferson. Is what I'm saying. It's just not. It's nothing about Jefferson. Love his game. It's just Kirk Cousins at quarterback, man. Like somehow he gets them the ball, but like every year I'm like, no, he's not going to do it again this year. Like he's not going to give Justin Jefferson the ball again this year. He's like, but somehow Justin Jefferson has like monster games and he does it, but we'll see. In terms of sleeper guys, I like Rashad Bateman a lot. I think the way has kind of been cleared for him to be the number 1 guy out there in Baltimore. Yeah. I think he'll put up some numbers. So he's a sleeper guy. Jalen Waddle, like everyone's talking about Tyreek Hill and all this stuff, but I think Jalen Waddle is actually going to have a better year than Tyreek Hill.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
So I think, Jalen Waddle's another guy to keep an eye on. And then, I think Allen Lazard, man. Allen Lazard, it's hard to say because it seems like Aaron Rodgers already has a connection with the rookie Romeo Dobbs. So I don't know, but I think Allen Lazard can give you some solid value. Just don't overpay for the dude. And then obviously our guy, Brendan Ayuk, I think you'll see him with Lance, man. He's gonna hit some big plays, and so he's gonna be a big play guy.
Yeah, I agree. I think ultimately, and I think something to know, it's funny, we didn't show any love to another one of the rookie receivers out in Green Bay, Christian Watson, Trey Lance.
Christian Watson. But, yeah. I think Christian Watson, even though he went higher, it's weird. He's not getting the same kind of love that Romeo Dobbs is out there. So
yeah,
I think Watson, he's gonna be one of 2 things. He's either gonna be this big crazy speedster like Julio, or he's gonna be what's his name, Jonathan Baldwin.
Oh yeah.
So Jonathan Baldwin, big guy, speedy guy, second round pick, turned out to be a big bust, right?
That's and that happens, I mean, it's
it happens.
I mean, you have all the intangibles. You look great in college. All the front office is doing the homework on you, but hey, it just doesn't pan out for whatever reason, right? So.
Yep, exactly. So who do you got, man?
Let's see. I agree with your picks. I forgot. I had the name, and N'Keal Harry from Chicago. N'Keal Harry, who just got traded from New England. I think he could have a bounce back here because he's going to be outside of Cordell Patterson. I don't know who else they have, to go to over there. Justin Fields could, and I mean, this is just me predicting Justin Fields.
Patterson's on Atlanta.
That's not Atlanta. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, sorry. Oops, I forgot. I'm 2 seasons behind. I saw Patterson. He was with this guy, right, number 12, right, and then I watched him when I was in Chicago, right. He was on the Bears. Yeah. And then after that, I'm like, okay, crap. Like, I'm like, I forgot that he went to Atlanta. He's on Atlanta.
About him. Yeah. So then, you're thinking Mooney. You're thinking Darnell Mooney. That's Darnell Mooney. They have.
Yeah, Darnell Mooney. Yes, that's it. I mean, that's ultimately. I mean, I'm not sure who Chicago really has. I mean, I think N'Keal Harry has an opportunity to have a bounce back year. So
yeah. I could see that. I've been a Harry fan, but he's just not panned out in New England. I don't know what Bill Belichick did to him, but Bill Belichick has a way of ruining careers. So
he does,
especially fantasy careers.
I mean, because it's funny because he believes in spreading the ball so much that you can really never have like a number one guy. Like outside Gronk, I mean Edelman, Welker as well, and Moss. I mean, they were able to because they were just transcendental players, but I mean, it's really hard to. I mean, since like the past dynasties, like the last decade, I don't know outside of Gronk, who really have Pro Bowl numbers for the Patriots as a receiver.
No, almost nobody. Last guy I'll shout out on the wide receivers, Chris Olave. On the Saints. I think he's going pretty late, and he would be a pretty good value pickup, especially with Michael Thomas coming back. He's going to be kind of that stretch the field type of guy, and he's got good hands, so you could see him put up some numbers.
Give us some numbers too. Oh, what about boy Devontae out in Las Vegas? We forgot to show him some love.
Devontae Adams?
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't expect Devontae to have what he did last year with Derek Carr at quarterback, but he's always going to be a top 10 guy. He'll always finish top 10 no matter who's his quarterback. He'll always grab some balls. He's always a lock to be, I wouldn't draft him in the first round, but I'd say, somewhere in the late second round, you could pick up Devontae. Even if you don't have faith in Derek Carr, Devontae will still catch some balls. I mean, Derek Carr was apparently his college quarterback, so maybe they have a connection there. So we could maybe he will put up another Devontae type year like he did last year.
Yeah, it really depends on Josh McDaniels, right? It depends how much Josh has learned from his last in Denver to now, right? Because
let's hope he's learned.
Right? And so, I think, we'll see what happens. And I mean, you're right. I mean, it can go boom or bust. I mean, it's one of those things where, you're talking about arguably the greatest quarterback of all time, just talent-wise, Aaron Rodgers, and now it is a downgrade going to Derek Carr. But one of my friends was actually telling me the other day that he would take Derek Carr with Jimmy G because Derek Carr has more arm talent, and and he can be clutch when needed. Jimmy G, I think, has a little bit more clutch gene. I disagree with him on that, but I think Derek Carr does have the arm talent. Just arm.
Yeah, I definitely Carr has the arm talent. I just think he's put in a couple of bad situations.
Really bad situations.
Really bad situations.
I mean,
and I think he started to find some of his stride with Gruden a little bit. So let's see. I don't know how he'll do with McDaniels. We'll see. But I think having Devontae Adams, his old college teammate, in the fold, he already has like that connection, and they're apparently like neighbors and stuff like that. So like, I mean, if you read this, like Devontae Adams was like gung ho about going to like Las Vegas because of Derek Carr. So
right, yeah.
So we'll see, and then we'll see. But he's always going to be a top 10 guy. You can always just kind of pick him, lock him in, put him in your lineup. Just don't waste the first round pick on him. Is what I would say.
Definitely. And not to mention one more sleeper pick, in my opinion, Allen Robinson going to the LA Rams. Allen Robinson going to the Rams. Depends on if Matt Stafford can replicate the production he had last year. I think Cooper Kupp is going to be doubled. There's obviously OBJ, right, coming off the. I mean, actually, you know what? I'm gonna walk that back. I think the blame. I'm walking it back because I think there's too many other weapons on the Rams.
There's a lot of weapons,
Yeah.
but I mean, I've been an Allen Robinson fan. He just couldn't do it in Chicago because he didn't have a quarterback. I always thought the Niners should have picked him up at some point, but he just needs he has a quarterback now in Matt Stafford, so I don't disagree. But you want to leave him for the much later rounds. Like he's not a guy you want to
sleeper pick.
Yeah, sleeper pick. Yeah, he's a decent sleeper pick. He can basically take the production of Robert Woods, I think. So
100%. Yeah, no, he definitely can. Now let's talk about tight ends. So we talked about Evan Ingram, obviously Kittle, Waller, Kelsey, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows his names.
Yeah, Mark Andrews,
right? Everyone knows his names. But yeah, let's talk about some sleepers.
Yeah,
I'm thinking. Good.
You mentioned him, Evan Ingram, right?
Yeah.
I see it. He could be a decent sleeper pick there. There's another guy on Denver. He's just got thrust into the starting role. Man, I'm gonna butcher his name so bad. Alex Akawugabang. I can't even say it, man. It's such a long name, dude.
Yeah, let me see.
Yeah. Let's see if you can get his name down.
Let's see. Let me see if I can get to the Ross. There we go.
Oh, sorry, Albert Akawugabunam, I think is his name. Is how you say it. But he's a tight end for Denver. And Russell Wilson loves him some tight ends. So
yeah, and not to mention Andrew Beck returning to the Broncos number 83. I mean, he was already a serviceable tight end with Drew Lock, and I think he definitely can be primed to have a more resurging year. I forgot to mention for the receivers, Tim Patrick on Denver. I mean, he's a sleeper pick in my opinion because Tim Patrick has definitely been a productive wideout over the past 3 years. So I mean, there's no reason why.
And he's a slot guy that Wilson will probably love. So.
Oh, absolutely. Wilson loves the slot, right? I mean, that he taps that 5 to 8, every single time. So, back to Alex. Let me read his name. Alex Okuwu.
It's Albert. It's not Alex.
Albert Okuwu. Yeah, I can't even.
It's hard. Let's just call him Alberto.
There we go. Yeah, Alberto. Andrew Beck. Yeah, so Andrew Beck, Alberto. I don't know if Will Disley in Seattle will do as good, but sometimes with new quarterbacks,
I don't think so because they also got Noah Fant in that trade for Wilson.
They got Noah, right?
So I think they like him a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking for a guy who might break out a little bit, and people are just like absolutely ignoring him, Hayden Hurst. He just signed with the Bengals. He's going to be their tight end number 1. So let's see. I mean, the Bengals already have all these weapons, and Hayden Hurst can just kind of find his way to some touchdowns. Just off the radar. He's just everyone's gonna forget about him, right? Because all these other guys are gonna be focused on. So he could be another sleeper guy. There's also Pat Freiermuth on the Steelers. He's another guy to keep an eye on. He started showing some potential last year, so let's see if Mitch Trubisky's his quarterback. Avoid him, but if it's Kenny Pickett, go ahead. Pick him up, but if it's Mitch, avoid him. Don't trust anything.
Yeah,
avoid anyone on the Steelers if Mitch Trubisky becomes the quarterback.
Absolutely. So actually, yeah. Let me see those. Austin Hooper on the Atlanta Falcons. Who's the quarterback over there? Do you know?
Yeah. Hooper's actually now in Tennessee, man.
Tennessee. Okay, yeah. Then Austin Hooper for sure. I'm going to Austin.
That's a good pick. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's a good pick out in Tennessee. He might have some connection with Tannehill. Tennessee's never had a tight end that's been at least as talented as Austin Hooper has been. Maybe not with the production, but he's a pretty talented guy. So there's quite a few, kind of sleeper tight ends that you could go with. I hate spending draft capital on tight ends. Like, I just don't do it. Like unless it's a Kittle or a Kelsey or an Andrews, right? Those are the 3 guys. After that, I'm like, I'm not spending money on Kyle Pitts. Like Kyle Pitts is out there. I mean, Mariota's the quarterback right now. I don't know, right? Like I'm not spending money on Kyle Pitts with Mariota at quarterback, right? You got to factor that in, right? Kyle Pitts, extremely talented guy, but who's getting him the ball? Mariota, right? Mariota we've seen is, iffy on that arm talent and all that. So I don't know if Mariota will even last, right? And you can see Desmond Ridder coming in, so maybe then it does work out for Kyle Pitts. But if you have to spend draft a 3rd or 4th round pick to get Kyle Pitts, it's probably not worth it, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. But when you have so many other options like Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki and these guys, right? Like Noah Fant, Zach Ertz, Dawson Knox, like all other guys that could probably put up very close production. Like you're not going to lose a lot of value in drafting those guys, but you can get them much later. Like maybe Dawson Knox is maybe a little bit higher up, but these are guys you can get much later. Like another guy I like, he's kind of on that borderline, like top 5 guy is Dalton Schultz out of Dallas. He came on, man. He came on and man, he had a lot of shades of Jason Witten. So we'll see, man. We'll see if he kind of jumps into this top tier of tight ends, but he's another guy to keep an eye on.
Definitely another guy to keep on, for sure. I mean, obviously, Mike McCarthy. I mean, well, just not Mike McCarthy, but Dak Prescott. I mean, coming off a 38 touchdown season, I mean, he has a lot of guys and a lot to prove. Obviously, beaten by just game beaten by just a better team in the playoffs, right? So, I mean,
100%.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you're right. I think ultimately, I mean, Pitts was one of those really kind of those. Remember, if you were at the draft, right? He's like Pitts. Everyone was like, raving, and I mean, he's probably the highest tight end selected in I think the past 20 years or something like ridiculous.
Yep, I think so. Right? Yeah, even higher than our boy Vernon Davis, man.
Yeah, higher than VD, right? So ultimately, I think I mean, he definitely has it. But again, you're right. I mean, you got to factor in kind of the quarterback. You got to factor in the situation offensively. So I mean, I think Kyle Pitts is a great maybe sleeper pick. If that's what you want.
Yeah. But people are going to draft him. People are going to draft him in like the 3rd or 4th round because of his talent. And he's supremely talented, but just be prepared to be disappointed if you draft him that high.
Exactly. Exactly. No, I 100% agree with that. So obviously, I think that's with tight end. So let's see. Now let's talk about defenses. Which team defenses are you looking out for?
Oh, Niners, of course, man. Of course.
Obviously, right. Yeah.
Of course. Niners, but if you're trying to go down a little lower tier, maybe some sleeper defenses. I like the Dolphins defense a lot. I think that has a lot of potential. I would actually even say the Pittsburgh defense.
Defense,
especially if
year,
Exactly. TJ Watt's coming back a little. He should be healthy. You got Minkah Fitzpatrick out there. So I like the Steelers D a lot. So those are kind of 2 defenses to keep an eye on. But the one concern with Pittsburgh is if Mitch Trubisky's quarterback, they're probably playing from behind. So maybe you don't want that defense. Or maybe you do if they're playing from behind. Like, I don't know, right? Mitch Trubisky is going to make some terrible throws and they're going to be down like 3 touchdowns. So that may be a problem, right? Like Mitch Trubisky might be giving the other team points and then it's going against your defense for that. So just keep an eye out on Mitch Trubisky. Nobody's talking about it, but the Raiders defense could be solid. Like right now, like if you look at these rankings, they have the Raiders defense like as one of the worst defenses. I don't know why, right? But they got pass rushers, man. They got pass rushers. When you got pass rushers, everything else kind of sets itself up. So I think, I'm a Niner fan. I don't like the Raiders too much, but I still got a little love for them. But I think their defense is actually going to be pretty solid. I like the trade they made for Rock Yassin, So I think they have some solid pieces on that defense. And I mean, I'm not going to say they're going to be an elite defense, but they'll give you more production than you think they would from where they're being ranked.
Yeah, I think, and I agree with you but your point about pass rush is so key because now I'm going to talk about another team, in the same division as the Raiders, the Chargers. I mean,
man.
Right? Yep. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, right? I mean,
that is a nasty defense. Yeah. And they're going to be a good D, right? They're going to be a good D. So, but keep in mind their schedules, like they got to play KC twice. They got to play Denver twice. So those are things to factor in too, like some of the teams they're playing, but.
And Derwin James coming back, right? So, I mean.
Yeah. And that's the thing with the Raiders, right? The Raiders got to play the Chargers. They got to play the Chiefs. They got to play the Broncos. That's 6 games right there where they're probably getting killed. Right? So the Raiders are more of a streamer defense, I would say.
Right.
Don't lock them in as your main defense, but you can kind of stream some. Like if you're into streaming defenses, Raiders probably like for a few weeks are going to have some easy opponents, and their defense will kind of crush it. So I think that's the thing. Any other defense? Let's see. Yeah, you said it. Chargers are going to be a good one. I think. I think Baltimore. You could see Baltimore and Cleveland. They have some decent defenses. That NFC, just that AFC North is like they got solid teams, loaded with good defensive talent. So we'll see. Yeah, Cincinnati is a decent one too. So they got like these middle tier defenses that we'll give you some points, but obviously if you want, the best defense in the league, you got to go with the Niners. That's, going to give you the most bang for your buck there. Don't worry about, I don't know why Tampa Bay's up there. Buffalo I can see, but I would say, if you want a defense, go with the Niners defense. They're going to be killing it. Another defense, actually, top defense, Colts. Colts defense is.
Oh no, absolutely.
Colts.
The Colts, yeah, that's why I'm predicting. I mean, the Colts are probably going to win the South, in my opinion. I mean, if Tennessee, slips up, but I mean, because
I think Tennessee. I agree with you. I think Tennessee will slip
Yeah.
up. So I think it's Matt Ryan is in place. He's going to be much better than Carson Wentz, hopefully.
I think so.
He should be. He should be. But what worries me is the Colts they have a lot of good pieces, but Matt Ryan, like, they got to get a quarterback in there, man. Behind Matt Ryan, like, hey, come on, dude, draft for the future. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what they were doing in this draft. They didn't draft a single quarterback this draft. So it's fine. Matt Ryan's got maybe 1 or 2 years left, and then you gotta go find a quarterback. So I think Colts are a little short-sighted, but their defense, man, it's legit. Like Darius Leonard, we got our boy Defoe out there. They got good pieces, man. They got good pieces.
They definitely do. They definitely have good pieces. So I think ultimately I agree with you. I mean, you got to look ahead. But it's funny. I mean, after we lost the Super Bowl and Tom Brady was on the market, some teams are saying obviously Lynch Shanahan went to Brady and said, we're sticking with Jimmy. Thank you, right? And then I think Brady was on the Shop next year on LeBron's show, The Shop, and said you're sticking with that motherfucker, really? Like, seriously, right? I mean, ultimately, like, it was.
You think that was about Jimmy?
I think it was, because I mean, who else was it? It wasn't the Bears. It wasn't any other team.
I mean, the Bears had Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, they had Mitch Trubisky, but I mean, were the Bears really interested in Tom Brady like that? Were they really going to sign him? I mean,
there were rumors that they were. I mean, like, he at least talked to him.
I mean, I think Ryan Pace would have made that move. I mean, why wouldn't he just?
Exactly. It's like a no-brainer. Like, Tom Brady wants to come to the Bears.
Yeah, like, just go.
Yeah, Mitch Trubisky, he's like throwing playoff games right now. So.
And I mean, Tom Brady and Jimmy, obviously, Tom Brady did thank Jimmy, and they have a good relationship, right? From New England. But I do think deep down inside, Tom Brady, once Jimmy leaves and once Tom leaves, essentially at this point, Tom's the competitor. He's the ultimate competitor, and I don't think that. Yep. I mean, I don't think that their relationship in New England means anything to him at that point when he's trying to find.
Absolutely. He's like, yeah, you guys went with Jimmy. He lost you a Super Bowl. I would have won that Super Bowl.
Exactly, and for his hometown team, right? I mean, why not?
Yeah.
So I mean, I know. So I mean, so my point is, Matt Ryan being in Indianapolis, if he's peak Matt Ryan, is better than like Peyton Manning in Denver versus going with Andrew Luck. Sometimes it's better to just go with the older kind of with the older steed as opposed to kind of like a young buck. So. Absolutely.
I mean, they did that with Phil. The problem is they did that with Phil Rivers, then Phil Rivers retired, and they brought in Carson Wentz, and then Wentz looked terrible. Like, I don't know how Wentz goes from like looking like one of the best quarterbacks to come out of college in like a long time to be like he shouldn't even be in the league anymore.
Right.
Like, how do you do that? Like, I mean, I guess he's had a lot of injuries and stuff like that. I mean, I feel like he's on that RG3 trajectory. Like, he's taking too many injuries, too many hits, and he's going to be like a backup quarterback in the next year or two. Like, that's what happened to RG3, man. He got hurt too much. And I mean, unfortunately, Mike Shanahan kind of almost killed him in that playoff game against Seattle. Like, I was like, why is this guy playing? He only has one leg, but that's the trajectory Wentz is on. And I just don't see why I was like, why are the Commanders want this guy? Like, you're trading like you could have had Jimmy, guys. What are you doing? You could have had Jimmy G. At least he's better than Wentz.
So. Actually, you know what? Now you just harken my memory now to our earlier topic on the podcast about where Jimmy's going to go. I think New York.
The Giants?
Yeah, the Giants, because I think Brian DeBoer is not committed to Daniel Jones. Obviously, like, kind of to your point, I mean, I think Daniel Jones is overdrafted at 6. I think they shouldn't have drafted him at 6 in the 2019 draft. So now, I mean, they need a quarterback. I mean, Jimmy seems like the most viable option for them over there, So
yeah. I mean, I've heard mixed things about Daniel Jones. Some people like him, some people don't. I mean, at 6, that was just ridiculous. Like, who? That was that. Like, didn't they take him over like Josh Allen? Same draft, right? Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. They took him over him. Like, what are you guys doing? Was that the same? That was the same draft, right?
Oh no, sorry, no. That was 1 year later. 2018 draft, 2019. Yeah, it was Kyler Murray.
Okay, 2019.
They took him over. Not just. Who was in that draft? Besides Kyler Murray.
Yeah, let's see. Let's pull this up. Real quick. Okay, let's see. This is the Nick Bosa draft?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Yeah. Oh, Josh Allen, the linebacker, not Josh Allen, the quarterback.
Yeah, you're right. But no, Josh Allen linebacker would still be a good player, a better player than Daniel Jones, because Josh Allen at least made a Pro Bowl this year.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I mean, I guess it was fair to pick Daniel Jones that early just because it wasn't like quarterback heavy class.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I don't know, man. They could have gotten some other talent, and like, yeah, I feel like Daniel Jones would have been there much later.
Yeah, he would have been there at least in the third or fourth round for sure. Like no doubt. He's a third or fourth rounder at best. So
yeah, I mean, I heard talks about him being like a second round guy, like fine, but like you picked him in the top 10. Like,
top 10.
What are you doing? Like everyone was like, "What are the Giants doing?" I remember they pick this guy. I mean, but they could have drafted a guy in the year before, right? 2018 was a great quarterback class. Like, I mean, 2019 was a terrible quarterback class. I mean, you had guys like Drew Lock, Dwayne Haskins. Oh,
yeah.
My goodness. Yeah, I mean, Gardner Minshew might be the second best quarterback in this class.
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely. Gardner Minshew is probably the best quarterback, second best in that class outside Kyler Murray. Oh, I forgot TJ Hawkinson was in that draft class. He's another tight end.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like, you could have drafted a guy in 2018. Why did you wait till 2019? Like, that's the thing. Like, even if you have a quarterback, even if Eli was like there on the roster, whatever, like, draft a guy to develop and back him up. Like when you know he's about to go out of there. So.
Yeah, and I think actually in our sleeper pick, TJ Hawkinson and maybe Jared Goff at QB, depending on how.
Really, you like Jared Goff?
Ooh. Maybe, I don't know. I'm kind of not sold yet because I don't know the offensive line situation over there in Detroit.
Yeah, I
don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's another team that could be in the Jimmy mix. So let's see. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know why they're in the Jimmy mix, but they might be.
Apparently. They might be, but I mean, but they're a tricky team. You know what I mean? So I mean, but I think if Jared Goff has Hawkinson and if the team can actually, we'll see.
I mean, they got some nice. Amon St. Brown. He looks like a nice receiver. Yeah. They picked up DJ Chark.
DJ Chark. Yep. That's a good one.
Yeah. They got DeAndre Swift out there, so they could be. You could see something from Jared Goff. I could see it. Yeah, and so the Giants took Saquon Barkley in 2018 when they could have taken Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. I mean, the hell, they could have even spent a pick on Sam Darnold, but at least they would have had drafted another quarterback by now if they took Sam Darnold. But
oh my God, yeah, the 2018 draft was so rich with QBs. Like, I mean, geez.
Yeah, and they spent their second pick on the running back. So. He spent half his career on the injury
reserve.
Yeah. It's kind of
so it's kind of fortunate to see how Saquon kind of fell off, but it is what it is. So.
I mean, he's a good player. He just has to stay healthy. But yeah, I mean, he's a prototypical running back. He just can't stay healthy. That's his problem.
Yeah, same with C-Mac. Same problem.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, cool. I think we covered everything for fantasy, right? Was there anything else I missed?
No, I think we're good. Yeah, we don't talk about kickers, man. Who cares?
No,
draft anyone, bro. Draft anyone. Just whatever name you see, just draft them. And then you can replace them later in the year. It doesn't matter. Kickers don't matter.
Yeah, kickers don't matter.
I actually play in leagues where we don't even draft kickers. So
there you go. I mean, ultimately, last time my best fantasy finish was third place. That was 2-3 years ago. Yeah, I mean, even though I play special teams, when I played, ultimately special teams is like in the NFL, for fantasy at least is not as important, So
exactly. But I mean, kickers. I just don't see it. Like, why are you hinging your hopes on a kicker like making a field goal? Let's not do that.
Yeah,
like, I've had games come down to like, oh man, this kicker makes an extra point and I win the game. I'm like, that's not how I want to win the game. Like,
yeah, I know you want to like win the game decisively, right? Like,
exactly. I don't want to worry about the kicker. I don't want to be like sitting there watching like Green Bay, Cincinnati, and like being like, oh, is Mason Crosby going to make this field goal so I can win? Like, that's not what I want to watch.
Right. Okay, so to close out, let's recap and let's talk about the Niners and what your predictions are for this coming season. So obviously, because Adam Rank had the Chiefs going 7-10. Or 10-7 rather, because he picked them to lose the Niners. We predicted Tampa Bay to also kind of go 13-4, but I think obviously the Rams. So actually, let me ask you: do you think so? What are your predictions for the Rams and the Niners, and kind of who are your NFC picks and who are your AFC picks for the Super Bowl this
year? Yeah. Okay, so talking about the Niners, I mean, it's hard, man. I want to say 10-7. I want to say 10-7. If our boy Trey, if Trey is gonna ball out like he will, I think 10-7 is realistic for us. I think it really just like our defense is nasty. It's gonna keep us in a lot of games, and so you're gonna see Trey ball out a little bit. And I think 10-7 that'll get us in the wild card, and we can maybe go on a run. Depends who we have to go through. But if we have to go through Green Bay again, yeah, absolutely put us down for at least the NFC Championship game.
100%.
Yeah, so I see that. I see 10-7. I see 10-7 for the Niners. The Rams, man, coming off a Super Bowl win, they didn't really lose much. I mean, they signed Bobby Wagner and Donald's back. Like man, yeah, I would say the Rams could probably go 13-4.
I think so too.
They're gonna be crushing it, and that's the team we have to go through. That's the team we're gonna have to beat. So
and I mean, are you confident that we're gonna beat them in Trey's first year? I mean, maybe not. So that's
I think we could take a game from them. A game.
Right.
That the Rams are become the new Seahawks, man.
They really are.
Yeah. It's like they just rotate these teams. Like 1 year, it's like for 5 years the Seahawks were kicking our ass, and now it's like the next 5 years the Rams are going to kick our ass.
Yeah.
For 1 year the Cardinals kicked our ass, but but it's just man, it's always either the Rams or the Seahawks. They're the teams that are just dominating us, and so we have to, man. We have to at least take one from the Rams just to give ourselves that confidence that we can take the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, up to this point, I think Jimmy G was 6-0 against Sean McVay or something like that, and then obviously came to the Sanchi game, so then Sean McVay kind of gets over that hump. We do have the Rams number. I mean, statistically speaking, right? I mean, Kyle Shanahan's, I think he still holds a 6 or 7-3 record against Sean McVay. But now you're right, talent-wise, and kind of the guard has changed most certainly in this past season, right? I mean, the Rams are kind of like the big brother and the gatekeeper of the NFC West, and obviously, in my opinion, the NFC, I mean, they're actually my team to go back and repeat.
I'm with you.
Yeah, as NFC champions and maybe Super Bowl champions, depending who comes out of the AFC.
I'm with you. I think the Rams are coming out of the NFC. As much as it pains us to say it as Niner fans, I think it's the Rams coming out of the NFC. So unfortunately, I have them in the Super Bowl. I have them going against the Broncos, man. I think the Broncos are coming out of the AFC. In the AFC, I kind of see it. It's whoever wins that AFC West is going to the Super Bowl. That's really what it is. It's the Wild West out there. That's what it is, man. So I think the Broncos will take it. I see them as the more complete team, just on both sides of the ball. They're gonna be locked in. I mean, I know Kansas City's got talent, Chargers have talent, Raiders have talent, but I think all four of those teams somehow make the playoffs. By the way,
I think so too. Yeah.
But I definitely just the way the Denver's defense has been, it's nasty. They got running game. They got Wilson. They got their missing piece, right, in Wilson. And as long as Wilson doesn't mess it up for them, I don't know, if Russell Wilson puts up a repeat of last year, it's like, damn, I'm totally off on this. But I think they're gonna get Danger Russ. He's gonna be lighting it up, and so I think I'm predicting Broncos Rams Super Bowl, and I will say Broncos win it all.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Broncos, I mean, I have personal connections, right, with the show, and obviously, right, but I think, they look like they're ready. I think they're missing that piece. Honestly, that was the Bears. The Bears are just missing their one quarterback away. They had the defense. I got to go see them play. I got to go see them in 2018 when they lose in the wild card round against Philly. They took the Super Bowl champion Patriots down to the wire in the regular season that year. Now the Broncos are that team. They've had close games against Kansas City.
Yep.
And now obviously they have a quarterback at the helm. They have, they're stacked on both sides of the ball with the right pieces. And ultimately, I mean, like in Kansas City, if you look at them, they've lost so many pieces. They've lost Charvarius Ward. They've lost Damian Williams. They've lost, they lost Tyreek Hill. I mean, they've lost so many pieces. We'll see how great Patrick Mahomes is. Obviously Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback, but he can only do so much. Obviously.
Exactly.
Speaking, I feel like the Chiefs will probably be around that 10-win range. this year, and I think Broncos will definitely win the AFC, and they will repeat, or not repeat, but they will win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I think the AFC West is gonna be so close. It's gonna be like Broncos 12-5. You're gonna see like Chargers 11-6.
Yeah,
Kansas City like 10-7. Raiders 9-8, and they
Yeah.
all four somehow make it into the playoffs. This is what I perceive.
absolutely. Cool. All right, anything to close out
man.
this episode?
No, man, that's it, man. Unfortunately, I wish I could say Niners taking the Super Bowl, but I got to be realistic. I can't let the homework come out here. I got the Broncos. You can lock that in. Broncos win the Super Bowl this year.
Lock it in. Anyone can't see? Broncos. Lock it in.
There we go.
There we go. All right, bro. Thank you for joining me today, Sulman Haque.
Yeah, of course, man.
If people want to reach out to you, how can they connect with you?
I'm on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter. My handle is @HuckU2. So there you go.
Perfect. All right, bro. Thank you for joining the show today, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Sulman, once again, thank you, brother. Talk to you soon.
Of course. Yeah, it was a pleasure, man. Take care.
Take care. All right.
Bye.